Thank you for tuning in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. And you are listening to Art Meets Life, and I'm your host, LJ Bowens. And once again, I am thankful for you guys being here. It's been a good week, y'all. I'm coming off of, another day of waking up, seeing the sunrise, hearing the birds chirping. My wife pushing me away from her because I was slobbing on the pillow last night. But you know what? That's good. That's life, and life is poetry because it's ever moving. So I'm thankful to be here. If you guys didn't get a chance to pay attention to the social media or didn't find me on social media, some of y'all know that I was doing a show in Charleston, South Carolina on last week, and it was actually a fun show. Got to be the feature for their anniversary show, so it was definitely dope. But enough about me. We're here for the poems, and the poems that y'all love. The poems is gonna open your minds, open your hearts, and maybe one day you might get motivated to attend an open mic in your area. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to our first poem for the day. And this poem is actually coming from a poet that's not only a spoken word artist, but is also a stage actor, a lyricist. He's pretty much a triple threat, and he comes out of the upstate South Carolina area by the name of d.dove. And the poem that we will be presenting to you is known as Masterpiece. So once again, this is d.dove with Masterpiece, and you are tuned in to Art Meets Life here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community.
I am a masterpiece. Millions of little pieces identify who I am. I am strands of DNA from negligent father and many struggles from mama. Just too many emotions for this body to hold. I am unstable. I am more sensitive than salt, an open wound. I'm like that box made in China glass. Somebody get a broom, cause God, if you drop me, I know that I am doomed. I am delicate, carefully placed together piece by piece, side by side, section by section. Perfection is I, but why does it seem like the holder of me is starting to lose control? Cause see, I am slipping from them fingertips of my well-balanced grip as I drift to the ground. My body begins to flip, falling quick, and I hit the ground. My shoulder chips, pieces ripped, shattered everywhere. My completeness just splits. I am fragile. But once upon a time, I was perfect. Way back when in that faraway land called Eden, till someone got caught eating fruit with bad reason, and Adam and Eve bit that apple, made a mess, and we are still cleaning their applesauce, still addicted to our imperfections like makeup artists. But regardless of people knowing all my flaws, cracks, and rips, I don't got time to make excuses. I just want to be fixed. I am broken, and now everybody knows it. So maybe I'll just pull myself together like curtains, hide behind other art so that I don't get that focus. Please don't notice my smile. It's a little lopsided today, I'm sorry. I still haven't landed my full-time job yet, but it's okay. Let me just rearrange these pieces real quick. Put this piece right here, put this piece right here, put this right here. Wait, no, I don't think this is mine. Maybe this goes here. Is this yours? I don't think this is mine. You know what? I don't even know if I could be fixed this time. Cause every time I try to fix my life, I break me again. God, what is going on? See, I love you, but honestly, when you can't pay your bills, it's kind of hard to stay positive. It says all things work together for the good. Well, whatever. Tell that to my wallet. Tell that to that man who just crashed his dream car. Tell that to that chick that can't leave the ER. Tell that to that homeless man that's still homeless. See, we are all broken pieces, just looking for wholeness in my face. As much as I try to keep it casual, my face is more transparent than Adam and Eve after apple. I am glass. And no matter how much I try to fix my life, I can't. I don't have the kind of tools to make that kind of miracle, but God, if you can somehow show me how my friend passing away is somehow gonna work out for the better, I won't have another doubt for forever. But right now, I am weak. Right now, I am vulnerable. Right now, I am fragile. Right now, I am broken. And I don't know what kind of adhesive you got that could change me. Then I remember Jonah. remember Joseph. And I remember the Apostle Paul before he seen your glory. And if you can remake that man's entire life, you can still use me and my broken. But can you recycle my ugly tears into somebody's testimony? Or can you reuse my bad choices into somebody's good life decisions? But God, no, just don't use this piece or these pieces, no, because these are my doubts. God, my life's like a jigsaw puzzle. Why don't you just let me figure this out? Let's see. Every time I put my life in my own hands, I drop me. I'm sorry, God, I kinda struggle with accepting the fact that you actually got me. But does the clay pot argue with this master? Does he ask the master what he's doing? As if you didn't create the very brain that I used to doubt you. I think I would very much rather watch the masterpiece, a masterpiece together, carefully placed together, piece by piece, side by side, section by section, till perfection is I. Because now you got Leonardo, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Donatello, all looking over your shoulder like, Lord, what are you molding? What are you sculpting? What are you doing? You can't use this man for parts. But see, though my life may look Picasso, he still calls me his art. I am mosaic. Who said brokenness ain't beautiful? You see, I realized that we are all just one big collage, and that's because he's not done with us yet. He's not done with you. He's not done with you, and he's not done with you, and we will never be done until we see that artist face to face. So no matter how broken, no matter how weak, no matter how damaged, no matter how fragile, no matter how insecure, no matter how insubstantial, no matter how broken you think you are a masterpiece.
When I was younger, my favorite comic book of all time was The Death of Superman. As an avid Marvel Comics reader, I thought there was nothing more glorious than seeing the most ridiculously overpowered character in the history of the universe get beaten to death by Doomsday. I mean, seriously, Superman is a terrible comic book. There's no real struggle, no real sense of danger, so to me, there was never any real story. And I always wondered why even waste my time reading this boring stuff, especially when I already had my own version of Superman in my life. My older brother. And his story of a bad guy gone good is a greater superhero tale than any of those hack comic writers could create. In 2004, my brother tried to rob a bank. Now, I like to call that the day his planet Krypton exploded, because that severe lapse in judgment rocketed him to a year-long sentence in a federal penitentiary. Wait, what's that? It's a slave. It's a jailbird. No, it's a black man who saw himself as much more than the typecast roles this world's forced him into. His time spent in that fortress of solitude gave him a full rotation around the sun, unlocking this unparalleled strength. He stopped the speeding bullet of his life and propelled it towards law school. Manifesting this drive that was more powerful than a locomotive, he didn't just leap a tall building in a single bound, he hurdled the bar. He became indestructible, unable to be defeated by anything. So I can't even begin to imagine how bizarro he must have felt when doctors told him they discovered kryptonite sprouting from inside his own body. Maybe that's why he didn't tell anybody about his diagnosis for 4 years. When my brother's dark side was finally exposed, his secret identity died along with his invulnerability. He no longer had the luxury of Clark Kenting his loved ones from his pain, and that S on his chest became a permanent indicator of his fight against Doomsday. And even though it was a fight to the death, even though his body became a bigger burden than Lex Luthor, even though his dedicated Lois Lane left his side, he still refused to represent anything other than his source. He refused to not shine. That's why 2 years later, after all those parasite attacks, all those surgeries to remove the icy breath of death from lungs, the knowledge that this arch nemesis would keep popping up with more issues, I still demanded that he flew me to his metropolis. And not because I wanted to see him in his last days, but because I wanted to party with a Superman again. The truth is, there is no story arc dark enough that could have prepared me for what I saw. Because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to cart a Superman around in a wheelchair. I wasn't ready to see Kal-El, bedridden, coughing blood into tissues. I wasn't ready to see him with more pill bottles and champagne bottles. To me, he would be fine. I mean, to me, he was the man of tomorrow, and tomorrow never dies. So I refuse to accept that would be the end of the series. The death of Superman took on a new meaning to me when he finally passed away. There's an uncomfortable truth that is exposed when great men meet even greater monsters. No matter how super a man is, they will always suffer from the limitations of being a man. And sometimes, there is just no happy ending for the good guys, even if they're the man of steel.
Thank y'all for tuning back in to Art Meets Life here at WDRB Media, the voice of the community. And once again, I'm LJ Bowens, your host, getting ready to, give y'all more poems and give y'all a little social commentary in between. So one of the biggest things that I know in life is that as men, we make mistakes. Sometimes we do dumb stuff. I've been known to do dumb stuff time and time again. I know our producers that's in the back that are women know that men do stuff time and time again that's dumb because they're smiling right now. But it's fine. As a man, I can admit that. But one thing that I will always give applaud to is for the men that when it comes to situations where it's dealing with a woman and they birth a child into the world, the men that step up and be a father, whether they're with the woman or not. And in some cases, you have men that actually take the role of being the primary parent. I know that's very uncommon in the world that we live in today, but there are some men that actually are out there being full-time parents to their children, while the woman on the other end actually is the one that's doing the child support and everything. So with that being said, this next poem is coming from a poet out of the Virginia area. He is a spoken word artist, author, and he is the slam coach of the Writers Den, and he goes by the name of Roscoe Burnems. And this poem is called The Lady at the Counter. If you're not familiar with this poem, you could definitely check it out. And not only are you going to hear it on the show, it's actually featured on YouTube as well on the Button Poetry site. So once again, this is Roscoe Burnems doing his poem, Lady at the Counter. And once again, you're tuned in to Art Meets Life here at WDRB Media, the voice of the community.
I did not think I'd be here. High school graduate, 3.7 GPA, mass communications major in line for welfare. The social services building smelled like failure and dependence. Not too many men come in here, I could tell, by the way the lady at the counter was scowling, as if my gender offended her. Presumed that I was abusing the system, taking advantage of having my daughter full-time. Everything about her expression said, how dare this man come into an institution designed to assist poor disenfranchised women. My benefits package was clasped a little tighter than my dignity, a little looser than pride, just enough to wriggle free and hand it. Just as reluctant as she was to take it, this lady summed me up in seconds. I was some lazy degenerate who probably keeps his pants down and his hand out. I wanted to defend myself, but there's no talking to people like her. Didn't even give me eye contact, mumbled to me through tight teeth. I could feel her fangs trying to bite through what was left of my self-respect. A caseworker might be with you in a couple of days. Next! It seemed like just a few days ago that trials were my only reality. Me, a battered soldier on the front line with a bunch of deadbeats who packed excuses like ammo. My war took place at a cold desk, a frozen glare from my ex-wife and a judge with a lukewarm compassion for dedicated dads I dodged. Icy daggers lunged at my character. This chilling draft brought a biting regret for the sham of a marriage I once had. 45 minutes of frostbite later, I walked away to thaw with my daughter. Full custody is the warmest feeling I have ever known. but I'm still broke. A struggling parent like any, ready to snap and stretching to make ends meet. And now, what America has deemed only for baby mamas now applies to me. And I am somewhat justified and still somewhat ashamed to be in this position, to need such assistance, to be reluctantly dependent on my knees at the hands of some bullshit government check until I'm back on my feet, but still proud. Proud to be one of the few full-time fathers I know, sacrificing my stubborn ego by standing in this line, even if it means I have to endure condescending stares from a woman who is so busy looking down on me, she doesn't understand why my head is held high, never taking a moment to understand that I was there for her first step, her first word, her first fall, and I'll be there to catch the rest of them. I'll stay for first boyfriends, husband, marriage, a first child, and the first time that she ever has to sacrifice for them, and I'll be the first man in my family to do it. But you try telling that to the lady at the counter.
For my grandmother Louise Lindsay, one, she just forgot that this was to forget. Forfeiting her memory stories like books and somehow blank pages just made happier endings for the pictures. Pictures seem to be easier for her arthritis grip mind to hold on to, so librarian, image me to her imagination ever after happily as a picture book, so she can judge me by my cover and define me again. Place a Dewey Decimal number next to my name and store me under friend, or better yet, hide me in her reference section on the family tree with the asterisk next to my name that reads Evergreen. Because when she finally does fall in the winter of her life, her memories I swear I will never leave too. She smiled like heaven played behind her teeth. And when the pearly gates part, you can almost see beautiful angels being baptized in her by cuspids, God interceding on her incisors, and Jesus vacationing on her speech. And I'm pretty sure wisdom called and asked her for advice religiously. And she probably answered just as easily and habitual as Sunday morning, follow your heart. For a seed has everything it needs in the beginning. 3, she never spared the rod. It's almost like she saw a child's innocence as their connection with God, so the more I grew, the further me and he grew apart, so she beat me down to keep me humble. And with her gone, I lose myself in trying to find ways to stop my growth before I ever forget that I lost her twice before she lost her life. Once in our distance and once in her sickness, I would crucify myself. Nail these hands to pages with pens, and allow the ink to blend with blood and form blotches on the page. So you may not be able to identify who I am, but you can see my pain through this poem 5. The last time I saw my grandmother alive, it was in a rest home. And she smiled like Father Time's dentist had removed her wisdom. And the only happened to play behind her teeth was a club where everyone got in free before 11. And when the damaged digit doors departed, you could see broken beer bottles blistering her by cuspids, innocence being introduced to indecencies or incisors, and questions hijacking her speech like I was the baby doing. And I know if she was referring to me or my 3-year-old niece, I replied, grandmother, the baby's doing fine. Questions like, is your grandfather cheating on me? And without hesitation, I replied, grandmother, why would he do a thing like that? Questions like, oh, you lying to me? And without a moment of hesitation or cracking a smile, I replied, grandmother, you know you done beat all of the lying out of me, and she laughed, y'all. Laughter echoing memories without a distance to make their existence seem possible. 10. She wore her skin like she wore memories, loosely. It was almost as if gravity was trying to rip it off for her, so even Mother Nature knew she was an angel in disguise, getting ready to return back to God. 6. I miss the sinking. 4. I have a problem dealing with death. 9. One. Well, I'm sorry. Guess I just forgot that this was to forget. Wow. Kind of reminds me of losing count. And I wonder, is this what my grandmother's Alzheimer's felt like?
Wow.
One, two, three, judges. All right, Winona High, we got a 9.6. Whoa, we got a 9.7, a 9.9, a 10, and a 10. I know some of y'all watching the clock. We trying to get out as fast as we can, y'all. We still got one more round, but it's only 3 points in the final round. But we moving fast. Giving our poll a total score of
29.6.
29.6.
Once again, you are tuned in to Art Meets Life here at WDRB Media, the voice of the community. I'm your host, LJ Bowens. And once again, I am here at WDRB Media Studios, enjoying myself enjoying the atmosphere until they kick me out. So, I'm just going to still give y'all poems until this time runs out, which we're actually pretty much close to that. But before we go, I do want to let you guys know about a special project that I've been working on. So, of course, you guys know I'm a published author. I've done a few books. Last book that came out was Anywhere But Here, which has been a phenomenal poetry chat book, and I'm thankful for that book coming out. We sold over 700 copies of that book, and I'm definitely blessed to do that and definitely thankful for all the support you guys give me. So on August 31st, I will be releasing my new book called Blurred Lines, which Blurred Lines is a play on the phrase blurred lines, but is actually another type of blurred line. So if you guys aren't familiar, the word blurred is derived from black nerd. So if you're black and you're nerdy and you like all that stuff like Star Wars, Harry Potter, anime, comic books and stuff like that, then this will be a poetry chat book for you, because it deals with nerdy stuff, but it also takes a serious tone. Particular poem dealing with Bugs Bunny, because Bugs Bunny, if a lot of people don't know, his whole origin was him being a polysexual character and how he was derived when he was younger. But industry standards said that he had to be straight when they introduced Lola Bunny, and we're in that time frame now where more people are starting to come out the closet, like Janelle Monáe, who had to hide behind this veil of being something that she didn't want to be. So it takes a tone on that, and I'm definitely excited to be releasing that book. So August 31st is when the book comes out, and I definitely would love for you guys to be a part of the journey and purchase a book. So if you guys want to know more about the book, as always, follow me on my social media, which is at LJ Poetry. That's ELJA Poetry at Twitter and Instagram. Or you can go to my website at www.ljpoetry.com. That's www.eljapoetry.com. And that's pretty much our show, guys. I'm going to go ahead and give y'all our first quote of the week. And this quote comes from Roy T. Bennett, and the quote goes, "If you want to be happy, do not dwell in the past. Do not worry about the future. Focus on living fully in the present." That's my time, guys. And, we're going to let time run out with some poems and everything. But once again, thank y'all for tuning in, and make sure y'all tune in next week. Once again, I'm LJ Bowens, and this has been Art Meets Life here at WDRB Media, the voice of the community. Purpose over popularity.